Alright, it's that time of the year again when the rugby league kicks off and all the fantasy fanatics come out of the woodwork. Let's have an in-depth look at some of the key options you have at the centre position. Konrad Hurrell is one of the more interesting characters to look at. In 2014 he had one of the most amazing outbreaks, averaging 41 points, but fizzled out in 2015 by downscaling to 26. There were two key contributions why this happened. Konrad's error rate in 2015 increased dramatically. Of all the players in the NRL who played more than 10 games last season, Hurrell had the highest errors per touch rate in the league of 13%. This effectively translates to at least 1 in 4 every time he carries the ball. He would ultimately lose you a fantasy point. The counter argument to this is, well, that doesn't matter too much because his tackle bust of 3 points each would balance that out. In 2014 we saw round 9 and 12, Hurrell tallied an amazing 8 tackle busts in each appearance. That alone is 24 points. In 2015 he wasn't as explosive though. Only once that season did he tally more than 3 in a single game. Having a player in your fantasy squad who had the record high error rate is never a good strategy, regardless if his tackle bust form does return. Chris Lawrence is another big talking point because he's a dual position player, that is second row and centre. And the common theme is that a second row player will traditionally outscore a centre, and this stays true for Lawrence. When playing centre, Lawrence averaged 27 points. As a second rower, he was up on his average at 36.2. This would also include a 0-point score in round 20 due to a concussion in the second minute. Should he get the starting gig at second row? He's definitely worth a second look. Now let's have a look at the highest scoring centre in the fantasy competition, and that is of course Josh Dugan. While Dukes is predominantly known as a fullback, he did indeed play 12 games in 2014 as a centre. What I can tell you is that he only averaged 43.5 in the centres, while as a fullback he was up 5 points at 48.5. While 5 points is not a big difference, you have to remember his current average is based at his time playing fullback, and therefore should he move to centre, has dollars to lose. So if you're set on picking up Dukes just because, you best wait 4 to 5 rounds while he averages out and spend the money on more viable options that we know are bound to increase in value. Jarrod Croker and Jamie Lyon are two centres I'm going to group together because a lot of their fantasy success falls on the back of them being the team's goal kicker. Jarrod Croker kicked the highest amount of goals last season of any player. That's 94 goals or 188 fantasy points depending upon how you want to see it. This is a variable that you have to take into consideration. Both are behind very capable teams of finding a line, but the game is becoming more defensive orientated and less penalties are being fed. Thanks for tuning in and subscribe for more fantasy updates. I'd love to hear in the comments below who you guys are looking at picking up in your centre spots.